So often I would be admiring people because you see someone who feels amazing in their own skin. They emit this energy about them. And I think this part of me has always gone, how do I find that? Not that I want their energy, but how do I find that for myself? And so I think this journey, I really can't explain, I can't articulate in words how powerful that session was for me to feel fully seen in myself.
Welcome to the Wearing Your Worth podcast. I'm Sarah Gale, host and founder of the Wearing Your Worth methodology. So over the last few weeks, we've been joining 3 women as they embark on really discovering their relationship with their wardrobe. We've uncovered what it is that brings them such overwhelm when they get dressed, and we've been looking at the reasons that they just don't feel good in their clothes. And let me tell you, what we've discovered is it has very little to do with the clothes themselves. So today we're moving into a one-on-one, deeply personal conversation with one of those women, Tash. 2 weeks ago, I went into her wardrobe with her and we discovered her 3 style essences, the creative characteristics that make up her authentic style. So today, we're first going to hear from Tash the recording of just as we went in to her session and what her intention for that session really was. And then 2 weeks on, we discuss with Tash all of her sharings of what she found out about herself, both inside and out. I hope you enjoy this rich and deeply personal conversation as we hear what Tash learned about herself, her style, and what it truly means to come home to yourself. So Tash, what's your intention for this Wearing Your Worth session?
I guess I really just want to listen to me. I just want to feel good. I don't want to care around the external factor of what people might think about what I'm wearing. I want to wear what makes me feel good. I think you touched on it earlier in the sense of there's this authenticity of self inside of me that hasn't been expressed for so long. And so that's just been missing from my life for so long now, that part of this is really just I just want to find that again. And I feel like I've just lost all my confidence in knowing what I want to wear. So that would be the intention of this, of just, I guess, the confidence to wear what I want to wear. And just, I really want to know when I walk into a store what it is that I'm meant to be looking for me, rather than deliberating around what I want to wear versus what I think I should be wearing. There's this whole dialogue that goes on.
So Tash, it's so lovely to be with you now. It's 2 weeks after one-to-one Wearing Your Worth Wardrobe Immersion. And we've just heard your initial intention for this session. Did we hit that intention for you?
Yeah, I think we did. I remember the feeling vividly, and I remember saying to you it's hard to articulate the feeling, to express, because it was such a strong feeling for me. It's not that it gave me permission, because that's not the right context, but I feel like it gave me permission for myself to then express myself again. And so there was something in the session that really, I think, emotionally is hard for me to articulate in words with that, but I do feel like it really was an unlock for me. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So we might start with, let's let the audience know what your style essences are. And then we're going to go, and I'd really like to find out about some of your key takeaways and some of your insights about, because for the audience, to group episodes, we've walked this road with you, Tash. And so for anyone listening who wants to hear more of Tash's journey with her wardrobe prior to this session, you give such beautiful, rich insights and such vulnerable shares about how it's been for you, which has been so appreciated, because I know so many people relate to the journey that you and so many of us have been on around our relationship with our clothes. What are your top takeaways from your sessions from the session was it like insights, takeaways? What can you tell us about how the session impacted you and where your relationship with your wardrobe is now?
Yeah. So I found it very emotional. I felt completely seen, but in a way that I haven't been seen before. I felt so a bit hard to articulate is with yourself there guiding me through that process. It wasn't that I needed the validation, but I felt like there were these layers of sight around what I've been trying to achieve in myself that became almost like so profound that at the same sense is so easy to uncover once we were there. And I know it wasn't necessarily an easy place, but that I think is how I felt. It was such a deep feeling mixed with like just joy and almost relief that I think the thing that had stuck with me was I feel completely understood in myself, actually. So I understood myself because all of a sudden the clothes that I love, the expression of myself, and I couldn't work out why it wasn't working for me. And not from a superficial or materialistic sense, but I think the real, that's the stepping into the feeling, like I was blowing away how I felt, just changing aspects of what I was wearing, whether it was the shoes or without even needing to look in the mirror. It's almost like often I feel like I think related to feeling kind of nauseous or like I just feel this feeling things aren't working. It's a yuck feeling. And it was incredible how some subtle changes with your guidance was able to completely transform how I felt about myself. And there's such a correlation to feeling so good in what I was wearing. And again, not materialistic, but just feeling like myself to how I felt emotionally and the strength that came from that. So there's an emotional strength for me when I feel great in what I'm wearing. And I realize it's got nothing to do with like, really don't care what other people think of that. It's really opened up as long as I feel like I feel good and knowing the essences and being able to put those together and understanding them was super important because, you could throw in those three essences that man, it wouldn't have really made much sense. That going through the process and being able to actually see what it meant for me, because I think it is different for different people. I think sexy for someone else and how they may like to wear that would be very different from my articulation of it and how I like to wear it. And so it is very personal, but it was, I found it really emotional, but in a good way. It just was a release. Yeah, I think I was just blown away that the process could work like that. Like I just, it really does. It's incredible. And it's really one of those things that's so hard to articulate because it's such a personal journey, and well, you would know, because I'm sure you're seeing so many people like that. It blew me. I just have to say, completely different from any going and find someone to help you redo your wardrobe. That was such, I can see now how that's such a surface level thing compared to what we did and what I found out about myself, and then how that then could be portrayed in self-expression, which is what I can do with wearing what I want to wear to express that underlying self, and so it was an incredible experience. It was just, incredible. I think it was amazing.
If you stand in front of your wardrobe and feel frustrated, overwhelmed, or like you have a wardrobe full of clothes and nothing to wear, this is for you. I've created a free download that takes you on a personal journey into your wardrobe like never before. You'll discover insights about your own choices of clothes that you may have never considered. And once you see them, you can't unsee them. So this is where the transformation begins. Head to wearingyourworth.com and download it for free today.
One of the best things I've done.
Oh,
I've done a lot of self-help and I'm really into different things and modalities, but it's a very powerful session. I think it's potentially quite hard to explain the power of it because it just comes with so much emotion and it's about self-expression. So it's about your interpretation of how you get there. Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. So Tash, why don't we start with just speaking about what we uncovered were your style essences. So we all, for the audience, we all have 3 style essences, and within this wardrobe immersion, they appear. So we get under all the conditioning, the programming, all the patterns that have been keeping us maybe small or hidden, and these style essences come up and appear. So Tash, what are your style essences?
They are feminine, sexy, and edgy.
Okay. And I'm curious. Normally what we find with the essences is that one's really obvious. The next one's kind of buried under some patterns. And the third one is normally something that it's almost like I liken it to a disowned part of ourselves, being in resistance to. Do you relate to that?
Yeah.
Would you like to talk through how that unfolded for you?
100%. So edgy, I wouldn't have called it edgy, but it makes perfect sense. So I think we spoke about, I was always looking for something that was different. I was always looking for, I loved things that were unique. I think I'd mentioned before that I just didn't, I have no problem with them, but I just didn't, like, I just don't even feel good going into shops that have a 30 of the same thing on the rack. And it's not that I don't necessarily like the item.
Mm-hmm.
It's the sameness I think I was using a lot in our session. Like some things just felt like same. And so the edginess, 100%, like I feel like I've always looked for something that was a little bit different but hadn't articulated what that was. And I think with edgy, for me, the frustrating thing was that I knew I had these things that were really, well, some of the clothes were different or unique, but I wasn't pairing them with the right things. And so I couldn't land them. And that was really frustrating. And then to jump to the other end of the scale, if you had told me at the start of the sessions that sexy would be one of my, and it's not that I'm not, like I am connected with my sexuality and I can be sexy, but I would not have said that was my style essence. And now that I recognize it in the way that I do, it makes complete sense of why I gravitated and also couldn't land what I was trying to do with that. And the story that I was telling myself about the word sexy.
Okay, why don't you explore that? And then we will come back to the edgy, unique, and sameness, because that was a wild discovery.
Yeah.
Back to that. But while we're on sexy, so can you explore that a little bit more? Can you give us a little bit more insight?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't really, I couldn't tell you where it came from or why I think this way. It's probably something I need to dive deeper in with myself. I don't feel like I've ever been like shamed. You know, I didn't grow up and being told, you know, you look like something and you shouldn't be wearing that. But I think I mentioned to you, I feel like some of it was, especially when I was younger, I got a lot of attention from like building sites. Like I just specifically remember walking past building sites and getting little bits of that. And I don't necessarily think that was an association with I can't look sexy, but I felt like an object, I think, and I didn't like it and I wanted to hide from it. And I wish I'd, you know, I'm glad of who I am. But part of me, like if I'd have that bit, and I'm not that person that's called that bit of sass that could have just like appreciated that maybe. I don't know if I agree with it or not, but and so possibly that, but also just I didn't want to look, I'm gonna say tarty, I don't know what words I can use on here. But you know, I didn't want to look a certain way. And so I think with part of me being on this journey of caring what other people think, more so when I was a lot younger, that all played into it as well. And so I think the association for me was sexy rather than being, I guess I feel like I have a healthy relationship with it after our session. Like I feel like I can really show that sexy side, you know, like I'm happy to, I know, low cut and I've got a little lace thing on under the sheer. This probably can't see sheer in the video, but that for me feels sexy. So, or, you know, the high splits on the dresses that I wear. And so I enjoyed wearing that and I felt good in that, but I couldn't, I would never have articulated it as an essence of sexy. And now I can see. And also, again, why I found that so hard to land, because I feel like for me, there's a balance there of the feminine needing to be there to balance that out. Yeah.
Can you explain that? That there's a balance of.
Yeah. So for me, feminine, for me, kind of like the flowy and you know, it feels like feminine for me paired with sexy. There's a balance between them where the feminine almost brings how I like to wear the sexy into a more playful sense. And I think that's where I would never have articulated that without our session, as well as the edgy. I mean, the edgy makes it playful as well, right? I think we even spoke about the three of them working together. But I do feel like the playful side of sexy for me is something that I relate a lot to. And that playful side was something that I discovered again in our session, which was really emotional for me. And especially thinking about it afterwards was I really wanted, I felt like I had masked that playful side of me for too long for whatever, reason that might have been. And so the essences and the putting these together have really enabled me to feel that again. And I think that's where I really enjoyed it. It's a really nice sense now of, I'm still on the journey of trying to get my wardrobe, there's pieces I probably would like to purchase to make it a little bit easier for me to put these things together. But now I have complete sense of, well, I think I do, but, going out and knowing what it is that I would want and why and how I could, because of what I've got already.
Okay, beautiful. What's really interesting is, so you've had inklings, right? So what we find with Wearing Your Worth is that so often we've got the things in our wardrobe and it's about, but we don't know the combinations of them to bring them into those three essences is what really makes them land.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, there's that sense of we get to know ourselves and we also get to really appreciate those parts of us and the parts that we've kind of diminished on some level or haven't really acknowledged as an important part of us. And what I'm hearing from you, which is really interesting, is that sexy, it's got some, and it is loaded.
Loaded's a good word. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't come across, there's maybe one or two people, but the majority of people it's loaded in our societies because it does bring up so much of an objectification of women. And so we have probably a healthy resistance on some level to that word in the context that it's in our society.
I relate to that a lot, actually, how you're explaining it. Yeah.
Right, go. But the problem is sexy. I often look at it as, I often call sexy our sensual creatrix.
Sensual is a great way to describe it.
Yeah, and our creatrix, we originally had sex to procreate. She's like our powerful creator inside. And I'm not saying if you don't have sexy as a style essence or something within the sexy group that you're not a powerful creator. No, you'll be using a different essence to create. But sexy, I like to think about it here because it takes it away from that objectification kind of like definition that's not helpful. It's not helpful for us. So when we think about it, I like to think, because I have sexy as an essence as well, it's like that she's like a power force within me and she is a strong creator. Yeah. And so when we acknowledge that sexy is such a beautiful part of being a woman and being the sensuality of whether it be touch, whether it be look, whether it be the feel of life is, for some of us, it's a really important part of being a woman. And when we've got those resistances to it, and as I said, there can be really healthy resistance, but when we unpack that essence within us and we really give her permission to be felt inside, something happens. And I don't know about you, but my creativity it was almost like I got a voice in my creativity again because my sexy essence was really connected to her.
Yes.
Do you relate to that at all?
Yeah, that and feminine as well. Actually, probably all of it again. I think for me, playful's really been a word that's come out with the combination of those essences for me. Yeah.
That's beautiful. And I wondered because there is a playful essence group. And I remember we looked at
Yeah, we did.
And sometimes what we find is that they can cross over those groups, but they cross over this way. There's an essence and then there's the result of being in your essences.
Yes.
Right? So the result is you feel, so being in sexy, feminine and edgy has you feel unique.
100%. Yes. And I don't think I would have the playful essence doesn't sit with me. As in, I don't even feel it. The combination, the result is what
It's the result. So
given me. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is where it's so important for us to like understand some of those patterns so that we can understand that, because to begin with, when you talked about, you know, and you said about all of the racks, and you know, if there's 30 of something on a rack, it just doesn't do it. And you talked about didn't want to be sameness, and you used the word a lot different. Different and same, which automatically is in response to something else. So it's externally focused. So to begin with, it was my natural inclination to ask within myself in the questions that I asked around the uniqueness. But there was something about unique that didn't land.
Oh.
It was unique, but it went beyond that. It was like, I feel unique, or I don't like to feel the same.
No.
It wasn't about being the same. It was, I don't like to feel the same. There was something in there. And then as we started to unpack that sameness, differences, uniqueness, and even playful was kind of edging on the outside. Every time that there was something around that uniqueness or around that not being the same, there was an edge to that in the expression, right?
Yeah.
It was fascinating coming. And when we landed, it's like,
yeah. It was like, it makes so much sense. And what I like when I see those pieces on other people, like I gravitate to that way more than notability. Like I'll think to myself, oh, they're cool boots, or, you know, I really like that. It's definitely something I gravitate towards. Yeah.
Beautiful. So let's talk about your 3 particular essences and how for you, because for everyone, there are common characteristics in each of the essence groups, but as we're all unique, right? So we will gravitate towards the pieces that primarily express those particular essences. So how do your 3 essences like to express? And then we can have a look at how the combo is and how it is.
I feel like since our session and kind of looking at my wardrobe and playing around, and we touched on some of this in the session as well, was I feel like the shoes for me can really step into the edgy. Although I remember there was, you know, we were playing around with some outfits, and I remember putting on the little sort of ballet shoes. I'm like, oh my gosh, because I had a really edgy skirt on. I was like, oh, this goes, you know. So for me, it's really been around understanding what that edgy looks like. And often it's a piece, or it doesn't necessarily have to be loud, I guess. That there's something that goes, it just kind of, for me, just lands what I'm wearing. Like I feel lost without it. And I probably am talking quite a bit about edgy, but it's been such a like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense moment with that's where I feel that, you know, and again, I wish I could have a word to describe this feeling, but I describe it as I feel sick or nauseous. Like it just feels yuck for me. And so when I don't have that, like I remember, you know, if I've got a nice skirt on and I put on the ballet flats, I'm just like, oh, I just can't even look at it. Like for me, like I just can't see myself in it. And so the edginess for me is really important in the sense that it gives me that, I don't know, I was going to say different, but it's not difference anymore. It's just a feeling of like, it's just something that's, yeah.
It's you.
Just kind of,
It's part of you.
It's expression. It's an expression. Yeah.
Yes. And it's that heart, that ick feeling, that yuck, it is that very healthy resistance to when you put something on that might look fine, but it just doesn't.
Exactly.
It doesn't express you and it
100%.
doesn't feel good. And that's what happens with so many people, is that it's like we can put on an outfit and any stylist would tell us that, oh, that looks like a great outfit. Or we might have seen that same outfit somewhere else and it might be on someone else and it might look like, oh, that feels good. But we're seeing the convergence and the appearance of who they are on the inside and the outside. And that's why we're drawn to it. Yet when we go and put something on ourselves that might look great, but it's not in our 3 essences, it does have that feeling of, ugh,
Yeah.
because it's what we're feeling, that yuck feeling is the incongruency between who we are on the inside and how we're expressed on the outside.
100%. That's a great word to describe it, the incongruent. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And because there were times, I'd go to work and I knew I looked good and people might comment on, but I just felt that it wasn't landing for me and it wasn't my expression. And that's a great way to describe it, exactly how I was feeling. And that's a frustrating thing when you've got nice pieces in your wardrobe and you're meant to feel good in them, that you don't. And then it's like, well, I don't know why, and that I think is frustrating as well. Or, even trying to put too much edge together or too much feminine together for me, just look through it. And interesting because I think we discovered also, which I absolutely love, is I like the idea of wearing like shoestring strappy tops, but I am bigger built, I guess you could say. Like I'm quite I've got a muscular upper body, like I'm strong, and I've spoken about this before. And so now I've been able to find like some of the dresses that I've gravitated to have the bows on the front, and they kind of so they still have that feminine side. And now I can see it, that what I've gravitated, or I've tried to wear these certain tops and they just wouldn't land, even though I like them. So I think and I think that's also why I don't like the collared shirts as such, like the actual buttoned collared, because they felt too masculine for me, being that, I guess just feeling like I needed to soften my upper body more with having that tone. And so that's been a massive shift for me, in the sense that I've done a lot to really love my body, and I love that it's strong and that, I've got muscle definition and shape, but dressing it was always really hard. And so I've got a few, again, the frustrating thing was some flowy kind of button, soft, sheer shirts, I guess you'd call them, or, tops. And I love the idea of them, but they just didn't feel right. So it's the knowing where to play, like the essences too, is like knowing where to put them. So I know, the sexy on my top, I think like off the shoulder, or like what I feel good in what I'm wearing at the moment which is, sheer, and you can see the lace and things underneath if I was walking around. Yeah, that for me feels good. And so it feels flowy. My top's very flowy. And so that has been a really big shift, because for me, it's also been about placement, and then playing, like my feminine comes a lot from my hair, but also like we played a lot with putting it up in a ponytail, and I was blown away just you going, just put your hair up and just throwing it up. And the other day I was in the mirror and my daughter was there and I had put something on, and then I was like, oh, actually, I think I'll just throw my hair up in a ponytail. And the instant that she went, oh, Mum, you look great. And I think it wasn't that she saw me. It wasn't that she was commenting on what I look like. She could articulate the lift and how I felt. And I 100% believe that was what she witnessed. I just initially went from to, oh, she always went, oh, yeah, Mum. And so that, because, she's not superficial, materialistic. She's not at the age yet to be able to even understand that. And so I think that as well, like playing around with those things, it just wouldn't have been something I would have thought of for me, is being able to shift it, but just depending on what I wear and playing with up and down. And it's been a really big shift. But definitely the body areas for me have become significant in how I put things together as well, which is great, because now I know how to, why things that might have been edgy on top don't really work as well. Or, like.
Let's be really specific. So the audience, because there could be someone else out there that really relates to, like even with the hair. So putting it up, and I know I use this a lot. I use it with myself as well. And it's different for everyone, but our hair also comes into our essence, right? And so when you put your hair up, which essence does it add to?
That's a really good question. I think it goes to sexy, because I think, you can see more skin, you can see the line of the neck, but it actually depends a bit like the shoes, depending on what I'm wearing. Is what I found. So
it's such a perfect answer.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really, because
It can be playful as well, right? Which is almost a bit of that feminine as well as sensual. And it could be edgy depending on what I'm wearing. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And one of the things I remember with you is it was almost like there was a touch of unexpectedness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's almost, your edgy has got an unexpected twist to it.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So we
Yeah.
worked in, and I remember there was an outfit that you had on, and we had your essences, but there wasn't quite enough of sexy in it. You're right. It's almost like you needed more skin on your neck to throw that
Yeah.
up in that
Yeah.
particular outfit. And it also added like this kind of flirty, sexy, this young
Yeah.
kind of, I don't know how quite to describe that, but it had this sense of very sexy playfulness to it.
Yeah.
Whereas down the bottom, I think you had like heavier ankle boots or heavier boots or something like that. So
Yeah.
it kind of, what it did is it brought you into the fullness. It added to the essences, because one of the things is like it wouldn't be helpful to say, okay, a ponytail will always mean this.
Yes.
Depends on
Exactly.
it depends on the combination of your essence.
Yeah. 100%.
What I'm hearing, which is really beautiful, and I think part of the reason I'm hearing this from you is that we spent 4 weeks unpacking patterns in those groups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so
Mm.
coming in to your essences, you had a real feel of excavating some of the, oh gosh, yeah, I didn't realize I felt this, that I do feel that. And so you'd had some beautiful introspection and insight into you and around your patterns. Whereas when we go back to the very first interview, before we got onto the group podcast, it was like, I don't know why I feel these things. I just feel these things. Yeah. And I don't know why I'm not comfortable in my clothes. And I don't know why I can't decide. And, there were these pieces. And because you've unpacked for 4 weeks, what I'm hearing from you right now is this beautiful sense of you've coming very quickly into that combination of the essences. And it's like, yeah, when there's something that there's not quite enough edge, I need to add something else to that. And boom, the whole outfit works. And it just works from, I remember towards the end of our session, having that sense of, okay, yes, I've got edgy, I've got feminine, I'm low on sexy. How am I going to do that?
Yeah.
I think that's where, the
Yeah.
in particular. But then do you remember another outfit where you tried something else on and you still had your hair up, but I think you were low on the feminine. We took the hair up and then it was like, well, I'm back in forth. It's
Yeah.
a beautiful sense of, once you know that combination, it's like a dance. That they need to dance with the different pieces and kind of talk to those parts. Okay, what do I need more of? So let's move to edgy. How does edgy express for you? Like, what kind of pieces do you tend to gravitate to for edgy?
Yeah. So I feel like I did with the shoes. So the big chunky shoes, and like I really like the boots with soft flowy dresses and that combo. But just even thinking of the ick feeling of even thinking of like a lovely dress with just normal plain shoes, this doesn't work for me. So if I put the big kind of chunky, and I guess it is that little bit of unexpected or that almost that grungy style with something really flowy, I just feel really good in it. Like it just really lands. And there's the skirt I said I brought that I love so much, the black one. It's kind of tall and big. And it's been the most frustrating piece because I absolutely love it. And I was probably that has been an interesting one because I think that was the one where if I put the ballet flats on with it, it actually softened the edge because it was such a big piece and statement. So it's also been around, I think for me, edgy is a little bit subtle, but it's that unexpected, which I love is the word that you use. Like it's the edgy with something flowy for me. And even like today, like I've got tight black, tights on. And then with the edgy bracelet and then my hair down, I feel feminine. And then I've got this little lace top on underneath this white one. And just, it's such a nice, comfortable outfit. Yeah, I did put something else on. We originally were going to, I was going to come on and had a dress and a jacket and it was just like actually partly, I just feel good in the combo that I've got. And again, it was, it's playing around with it really. Like I love that I can wear something like this and feel so comfortable, but I've got all my essences in it as well.
And I how you just talked about, because I'm sure the outfit you had on before had your essences, but had your hair up. And just for the audience, I messed up the tie, but we had an extra hour than Tash thought. And so I know that washing your hair, having it out, of course, it's going to change the balance of then the outfit that you choose.
Yes, because I couldn't wear, I don't think this, I've tried it. The feminine needs to, my hair down with this. Otherwise I feel too like active wear. So there needed to be the balance of what I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Whereas the outfit before, my hair needed to be out. Like it totally didn't look great.
Can we see, because you're a little bit lower down, can you just stand up so we can see the cuff and top that you talk about? Yeah, got it. And it's got you've got a little lace top under.
Yeah, little lace. Like probably can't see it's backwards on the mirror, but a little lace top underneath. Yeah.
One of the things also, say with an essence like sexy, is because people often talk about going to work and sexy and blah, blah, blah. But like lace underwear or whatever underwear has you feel this sense of sexy, because it's how we feel. And that
100%. Lingerie makes this huge difference underneath to just now I recognize it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Look at your face, Lida. And it's so beautiful. There's such a shift, and it's almost, actually, let me ask you, so if we go into sexy, how does sexy like to express for you?
Yeah. So definitely when I've looked back on what I've worn and when I feel good in it, and just as a tiny segue there, I realize now that some of the clothes that I had spoken about previously that I just feel good in, like one of my work dresses, it has all the elements in it. So it has the feminine and the sexy and the bit of edge because it's got a different pattern on it. Just like my skirt, you said to me, I said, oh, it's got dragons on it. You're like, it makes so much sense. It's not just a white, red, skirt with flowers, it's got dragons on it. And so I think for me, the clothes that I think is part of that is some clothes tick all the boxes. So that dress paired with a chunky pair of shoes, just it had sexy in it. And so going back to that, I think for me, I realized that the low cut works quite nicely with my upper body. I think definitely off the shoulder. So I played around with like an old t-shirt and just cutting off and seeing how that feels. And that's something I definitely want to, purchase a bit more, is kind of the half on, half off shoulder. The side splits for me, definitely. And even just I've noticed now, if you look at your wardrobe, I love summer dresses, and my dresses all have quite short skirts underneath a longer material, but either one or two quite side split. And so now I look at it, I'm like, that's how I did. I feel sexy with that. A little, my legs showing, or even outfits with work that have had a decent side split, like what do you call it? One practical for work, and a little low cut top paired together, and a bit of a flowy top with that, with the chunky shoes. I think sexy for me is really more, it's just showing the glimpse of it. And I think I really like the word sensual, because I think that's really where it comes with. Like, I love the feeling. Now I recognize the feeling of like good lingerie, or just having something that's just a little bit revealing for me. Just it also complements the feminine. But I think that's one that I would like to get bolder with. Not to the point where but just more comfortable with knowing it's okay. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's situational as well. You get away with it a bit more outside of a corporate environment, and on a weekend when you would potentially, but
of course, that's understandable. And then what about feminine?
So a lot of flow. So my dress, I love the flowy feel of the dresses. But again, it was that they're not, like I always like, I guess I gravitated to I felt way better if I wore a flowy dress with sneakers, if it wasn't suitable for boots, rather than just a pair of flat slip-on, because it needed that balance. I think my hair definitely comes into that a lot more. I think the playing around with my hair for feminine, definitely. And then just the flowy, for me, just things that are flowy, like the flowy dresses or a flowy skirt or that feels really feminine to me. I think less so much on the top. I think sexy fits me better on the top. It just feels, yeah. I think there's a little bit of correlation between the two, that different, like the flowy of feminine is what really it feels for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. You've used flow a lot in your descriptions.
Yeah.
I would say that is one of the characteristics, in fact, which is very common. The feminine essence often loves that flow.
But also like the skirts and even the short shorts, it's feminine.
Yeah, 100%. So yes, thank you for saying for sharing that, because it's always flow, and also some of the other essences of flow, like an elegant essence, can have a lot of flow.
Yeah.
So it's
fun material. Yeah, the material, like the silky as well. Although it can go into sexy, I guess, as well. But
it can feel very sensual as well.
So I think I'll definitely play around a bit more with. It's interesting because now we've done essences, I'm considering like the earrings and things again, which I haven't worn for many, many years. So I can see how that would add what you could play around with all of those elements and essences.
100%. 100%. And I'm curious, how has dressing felt to you? It felt confusing and you had a lot of narrative going on pre-session. Like when we first started, a good month or 6 weeks ago before we started to unpack things.
Yeah.
How does dressing feel for you now? Like, what's your experience of dressing post-session?
Yeah. So it's just directive. Like I know what I'm looking for now. And so then I feel that feeling, and I've been able to step way more into the feeling side. I almost know now, I think, when I put things on, I'm like, and I'm more experimental. So, I've rediscovered jackets and things that I was like, oh, I love this. And this is why I love it. And I can wear that with that dress. And I know that I know now I can look at my wardrobe and go, that will be edgy with that. Or if I wear that, I'll feel feminine. And so it's definitely shaped. Like I just know. And I don't want to say this and make it sound like it's a tick box exercise, but it's not. I just feel so amazing when I have all three essences. Like I just feel amazing that I couldn't not now. And admittedly, I do feel like I still need pieces. Like my wardrobe is definitely a whole lot in there that I have been buying of all of these essences that I can now put together. But I feel like now and the other thing is I was not a shopper. I would go out and buy things when I needed things. But now I feel like I know I'm so much more clear on what it is that I would want to get or why, and know what in the store, like even take some clothes with me now, or shoes, especially because the shoes they sometimes have in those stores to try things on. Just I now know how important it is and how different something I would try and would look depending on what shoe I put with it. And I do feel like now I think I have a really stronger sense of other people potentially won't. If I look and feel good, people are always going to judge. So you shouldn't care what people think, right? But I can recognize now that when people give opinion, it's really based through a lens of what they feel comfortable with. You know what I mean? And so it's so amazing to have that as well. And I guess I just say that, not that I feel that I'm overly judgmental of people. I try very hard not to be. And whenever I feel myself doing, I say to myself, judgment, so that I recognize that I'm doing it. But I think it's more, in my case, it's been searching for a reflection of what I feel that I've wanted to find in myself. And so, or knowing what I don't want to find in myself. And so I feel like that journey's kind of come full circle now where I'm like, okay. So often I would be admiring people because you see someone who feels amazing in their own skin. They emit this energy about them. And I think this part of me has always gone, how do I find that? Like, how do I find that for myself? Not that I want the energy, but how do I find that for myself? And so I think this journey, like I really can't explain, like I can't articulate in words how powerful that session was for me to feel fully seen in myself, like to actually go, oh my gosh, this is exactly how I've been trying to express myself, but I didn't know how. And we got so frustrated with my ability to be able to do it because I just didn't understand what I was trying to throw together. that are it's really freeing. Like it's really, and it's got nothing about the materialistic side of the clothes. It's how I feel and how confident I feel when I'm dressing right, and how I don't care about things as much when I'm dressing right, or even my energy levels, like it's interesting. I was playing around with a sweatshirt that was probably a bit too old to be worn out, but I did like stress it and cut some, sort of 80s, I felt like 80s style holes in it and stress it a bit. But oh my goodness, as soon as I put it on, I was like, oh, this feels amazing. Because it was edgy. It was just different and different, like wasn't just even just around the house. I think I just had shorts on and a sweatshirt. And, I was like, oh, I'm going to take this sweatshirt and I'm going to, stress it. And I looked up some videos of different techniques for stressing, and then I put it there fun. I was like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. I just love it. It just feels good. So little things like that, I think, have been fun to play around with as well. Yeah, I had to kind of stop myself taking the scissors on my clothes. But but I can see now also, like a part of what I've got, I met this beautiful dressmaker. I went to a crafty thing she did over Christmas, and I know that she does alterations, but now it's almost like, I want to take some of my clothes and say, can you just do this to them? Or even, and it's not even the edgy side, it's more like, could you just do this? Because then it would make it a little bit more feminine for me, a little bit sexy for me. I know this fits well for me, that it needs this to, and I feel like that would be more where I would probably now spend my time rather than potentially trying to find pieces. Like actually, I know so well now what I want to customize to make it work. And that's freeing, right? Then it's all about the self-expression. It's really hard to, well, maybe it is landing with what I'm saying, but it really is so much about the self-expression and how you feel versus the materialism of what it looks like put together. It's just this confidence in yourself. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Wow. I'm so hearing the alignment that you can feel between who you are on the inside and how to express that. And
Yeah.
that is beautiful. And I love your thought about taking things to alter them, to bring them into your essences, because there's so much that we have in our wardrobe that we can actually style into our essences when we know what our essences are. And so, wow, that excites me. It sounds like there's been quite a shift in how you dressed before. What I'm hearing from you is so much certainty. Like there's a certainty and there's a clarity, and I'm also hearing a creativity start to unlock. And so my last questions is, what I often find is that our essences play out not just in the wardrobe, but in our broader life as well. And so they can potentially unlock different parts of us. And have you noticed anything? I know it's only been 2 weeks from your session. We'll have another follow-up because we're going to get together as a group again.
Yeah.
But just as a thought now, is there anything that you found in yourself that's unlocked since finding and embodying your style essences?
Yeah, 100%. I feel like also I got back into my art, which I've shown you some. So, but that and playing, that it was more like playing around with that was like, I think it really has, like, it's hard to explain that. You get off that call and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just feel like I want to create something. Like because it invokes an energy, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's been dormant because when you don't feel good, it's really hard to tap into that creativity. And I think sexuality and, even the feminine sexuality, that really does evoke a lot of creation. Like that's the creative persona. And so that's been really exciting. I guess just at a surface level, it's been interesting to know like where I've gravitated to in my side business and my role. Like I've kind of looked at where does that fit with its kind of the edginess or the something that's different that's there as well, which is interesting. Yeah, that's a really good question. It's probably one that is probably going to be more explorationary as I go through and just see how that plays out. But it definitely a confidence, very much a confidence, much more of a confidence in myself just in day to day. And that expression is really important.
That's so Cool. Thank you so much. And yes, and I invite you going forward to stay awake to if there's any parts of your life that are calling for more of one particular essence, and stay awake to that. Because what I find is that once we start to embody these essences, we find that we find the parts of our areas of life that they're not showing up, and that often contain that energy within that. It'll be interesting to see how those unfold over the next month.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, Tash, I want to thank you. It's been so rich, the discussion today, and just to hearing how you're using your essences, embodying them. And I just really want to congratulate you in the grasp that you have on these and how to put them together, and just really acknowledge the fact that you're so aware of how they have you feel. And I loved how you really articulated that dressing is such a feeling. And that's where your seat of confidence comes from, is that sense of feeling. And once you're taking that from the inside to the outside, how different it feels is what I'm really taking away from you today. It was such a pleasure walking through the one-on-one with you. And I want to thank you for your vulnerability, because I know we're really meeting ourselves anew in those places. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing today on everything that you have allowed us an insight further into you. That is just such a gift.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you. I mean, it's just such an incredible session. It's life-changing. Like that sometimes that term gets bantered around a bit too much, but it's an amazing, as I say, it's really hard to articulate the emotional. Yeah, it's a good overwhelm of just being brought back home, or that guidance to being brought back home to yourself is incredible. So thank you for that.
You're so, so very welcome. And thank you so much for allowing me to journey with you on this journey. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I hope there's been some amazing takeaways for you, and love to hear in the comments if you related to any of Tash's journey. Please like, subscribe, and share with anyone that you think might really love this episode as well. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Wearing Your Worth podcast.